And begin. Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of the Baltimore County Landmarks Preservation Commission is now in session. Please note the meeting is being audio recorded. My name is Phoebe Evans-Latosha, Chair of the Commission, and I will be running tonight's meeting. We are your volunteer representatives appointed to our county by a county council person or county executive and entrusted to monitor renovations and additions to our Baltimore County historic resources. The LPC reviews and approves nominations to the Baltimore County Preliminary Landmarks List, comments on National Register nominations, reviews all exterior alterations within Baltimore County historic districts, and is charged with evaluating Baltimore County historic tax credit applications. Would the commissioners please introduce themselves by name and county council district or representation? We can go in the order listed in the PowerPoint screen.
Lily Mundroff, District 1.
Chris Weston, District 2.
Wendy McIver, District 3.
Good evening, Ted McCadden representing District 4.
Daniel Dean, representing District 5.
John Holman, District 6.
And I'm Phoebe Evans-Latosha, Chair and Executive Appointment.
Jamie's here. I don't think Jamie's here.
Yeah, no, Jamie's not here. So Raquel?
Oh, okay. Raquel Munesis, Planning Board Representative.
Ed Horde, Vice Chair and Executive Appointment.
Doesn't look like we have Vince. So Tom, you're next.
Tom Liebel, Executive Appointment.
And Chris Parts, Executive Appointment.
Thank you. Now, please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the
To the
republic
Republic,
for which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all.
The Landmarks Preservation Commission operates under the authority, standards, and requirements of Title VII, Article 32 of the Baltimore County Code. We refer to the United States Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation as administered by the National Park Service. This is the accepted national standard for historic preservation projects. Our own Baltimore County Historic Preservation Design Guidelines directly reference and incorporate the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation. We have important preservation issues to discuss and debate at each meeting. If you would like to make comments, please limit your comments to specific application or proposal submission being reviewed. We ask for your assistance and understanding so that the discussions do not digress. As an additional comment, we can all agree that historic preservation is an important aspect of the quality of life and place that makes Baltimore County unique. As commissioners, we serve on the commission due to our expertise, interest, and passion for historic buildings and places, and we review submissions based solely on their merit. While we may disagree in discussion and voting, we continue to be a collegial body that respects each other personally and professionally. Would staff please advise us with our virtual meeting reminders?
All right, just a reminder on offering public testimony, the staff who speak at the meeting tonight. We will announce those who signed up at the appropriate time. Persons who did not sign up but may want to speak if the comments are different than the ones that have already been heard. They're
Caitlin, you're breaking up.
Yeah, I was about to say, Caitlin,
I'm breaking up. Is this better? Let me see.
I think so. We'll see when you talk.
Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Yes.
Okay. I switched my microphone. I got a new computer and some of the things are different.
You may still be freezing actually a little bit.
I got it to like on my loud. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes and to what extent Caitlin versus Jessica will need to drive the staff part of the discussion. Let's see. Did you get through the entire staff, the staff reminders part?
Okay, I'll move on. No, I did not.
Okay.
Just
Sorry.
no. Sorry. Um.
Is it possible to call in
Or
maybe?
to their meeting and then.
You're freezing. You keep freezing. We're not hearing you.
Is there a way to call in
Let me
maybe?
try calling.
I think if you call in, maybe that's better.
Because we're not hearing. You're not coming through. It's freezing as well as breaking up.
Yeah, just so Jessica, is it possible that you could speak just so we know for your part that you're also on a stable audio line?
Hi, sure. Yeah, Caitlin had mentioned that her area is experiencing some thunderstorms, but yeah, essentially the staff portion was that everyone's had a week prior to tonight to sign up to speak and submit written testimony, and if anyone wishes to do so at the meeting, to message Caitlin or myself directly, and then it is up to our chair discretion whether or not additional testimony will be heard. Am I coming through?
Yes, you're
We can
coming
hear
through,
you
Jessica.
loud and
We can
clear.
hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Did that get through all of our staff reminders? And if so, then I think we can move on to consideration to changes for tonight's agenda. Are there any changes to the preliminary agenda that was circulated?
No changes.
Okay, I think I don't know if that is Caitlin trying to join in by audio with some additional background noise. Okay, so the agenda is we're moving on now to the minutes of the June 11th, 2026 meeting. Are there any changes or discussion related to the minutes? And if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you,
I'll
Chris.
second.
Thank you. I think that it was Dean who seconded. So we can have a voice vote. All in favor of approval of the June minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. So next we will move on to the consent agenda items that staff can present. So those are items 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, and 14.
Great, thanks so much. And Caitlin is working on calling in right now. So
Okay.
let me just see if she's able to advance the screens.
Okay. Yes, it would be helpful since we have so many consent agenda items that the screen follows up with the presentation.
I can switch over. Let's see.
Yeah, so we're on number 6.
Okay, perfect.
That's what the
Yes.
screen is.
All right. So Caitlin is here in spirit. She can hear us. All right. So first we have item 6, the Petticord property at 5125 South Rolling Road in Halethorpe. This is County Council District number 1. It's a non-contributing resource within the Relay County Historic Districts, and the applicants have proposed some front porch repairs. And next we have the Bright Bill Schuster property at 2 Wall Avenue in Glendon, County Council.
You're
So
also
Jessica,
breaking
you're
up.
now, yeah, you're now breaking up too. I think it's the thunderstorms in the area. Okay, so it appears that we have some audio issues with both of our staff members. In terms of the presentation of the consent agenda items. Let me see if I
I
can.
called in.
Oh, Caitlin, good. So we had gotten, so where we are on the agenda, we have gotten through the presentation on the consent agenda items of number 6, and we were moving on to number 7. So we need either Caitlin or Jessica, if their audio is working, to present the
We could also defer the consent agenda.
well,
items.
yeah, but if we put the consent agenda items, the
I'm not
next
sure we're gonna
item that
get
we
it right
need
now.
is the staff presentation of the 2 preliminary
to be heard.
hearings. Yeah, and those need to be heard, and I can't, I could probably muddle my way through the
I think
consent
we
agenda.
could defer the consent agenda items till after the first 2 presentations, which will be longer, and maybe come back to those.
Well, but we need to hear staff
Advance
either
this-
way.
So this is.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think
No.
Jessica's trying to speak.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Jessica, okay, I can sort of hear you.
So, oh,
You're still breaking up. I think I'm gonna see if I can.
um,
You're breaking up, Jessica.
Yeah.
I think you might have to call as well.
Yeah, is Caitlin able to use her audio at all?
would.
We still have Caitlin. I don't think we've ever had a situation where we lost
no,
both staff members' audio.
No, I'm here.
Oh, good, Caitlin.
Now I'm hearing myself double, which is bothering me.
Okay.
So
If you could get one of them to mute.
Off and they shared this in the consent agenda.
I think we got through enough of item number 6, and then things started to go off the rails in terms of breaking up the audio. So we need to start with number 7 on the consent agenda item presentation.
All right.
I'm not sure we got enough.
We could start
6.
over and just start with 6.
We can start it. That's fine.
Let's just start over.
All right. So because I'm also advancing slides.
All right, apologies. Can you all hear me?
We can
hear you. Just call in, Jessica.
I will try to call in as well. Let's see.
That's all right.
You're a little better right now, Jessica. Yeah, it might be helpful if all of the rest of the commissioners could mute, so we could, I'll respond regarding any audio issues with our staff, just so that we can try to get as much of the staff ability to speak.
Or meeting number.
Okay, so we will wait for Jessica just to call in so we have that backup. I will continue with the consent agenda item.
Thank you, Caitlin.
And I'm going to leave my camera off just because I don't want it.
Yes, please do.
Or anything like that. All right, so agenda item number 6 is the Petticord property. This is at 5125 South Rolling Road in Halethorpe. And this is a County Council District number 1. And this is a non-contributing resource within the Relay County Historic District. And this was for front porch repairs. All right, moving on to agenda item 7. This is the Brightfield Schuster property at 2 Watt Avenue in Glendon, County Council District 4, and this is a contributing resource within the Glendon County Historic District. And this proposal is for pool fence installation.
Yeah, if we could advance the slides, we're still on number 6 slide-wise.
Oh, I'm advancing it. Did it catch up yet?
No. Okay, now it just did. Yep. We've got number
Okay.
7.
Might be a delay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So item number 8 is the Nearman property at 1704 for Cynthia Lane in Halethorpe in County Council District 1. This is a contributing resource within the Relay County Historic District, and this is for a rear yard fence installation. All right, can you see number 9?
Not yet, but it I'm sure will come eventually. If you want to go ahead and.
It's weird because on my preview it shows that it's moving.
Yeah, then we still have number 8.
Hopefully it'll move soon. Anyway, so number 9 is the Faherty property. 152 Dumbarton Road in Towson. This is County Council District 6. And this is a contributing resource in the Roger Forge National Register Historic District. So this is a tax credit part 2 application for an in-kind asphalt roof replacement.
Yeah, and that still has, the slide still has not advanced on that one. Oh, there it goes. Okay, and now we're on number 11.
Okay, good. Glad it caught up.
Yes.
The storm that just came through here just passed, so hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
All right. Agenda number 11 is the Crumpler property at 307 Central Avenue in Glendon, County Council District 4. This is a contributing resource within the Glendon County Historic District. And again, this is for a rear yard fence installation. We have lots of fences this evening on our consent agenda. All right. Agenda item number 13. It's a Carpenter property. This is 713 Pleasant Hill Road in Ellicott City, County Council District 1. And this is a contributing resource within the Oella National Register Historic District. And again, this is a Part 2 tax credit application for a proposal for an in-kind porch roof replacement.
Yeah, we've lost the PowerPoint.
Resume. Yeah. Nope, not that one. Wrong one. Hold on. There we go.
Yes, okay. Now we're on number 13.
All right. Thank you all for bearing with us. This is the first time we've ever had any sort of technical difficulties in the, 5 years we've been doing virtual meetings. Appreciate the patience. All right. So I just did the Carpenter property. Now to agenda item 14. Agenda item 14 is the Ashley property, which is 715 Pleasant Hill Road, Ellicott City, County Council District number 1. So this is a neighboring property. It's a duplex with 1713 Pleasant Hill. And this is, again, a contributing resource within the Oella National Register Historic District. And this is a Part 2 tax credit proposal for an in-kind porch roof replacement and siding repairs.
Okay, so if that is it for the presentation of the consent agenda items, is there any discussion, or would any of the commissioners wish to pull any of the consent agenda items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I just wrote a note. I
Oh.
don't want to pull anything, but I just wanted staff to have the notes on on two things.
Yes, I
To
saw that.
speed
We'll
up the
make
process. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll let the property owners know your comments.
Do you want me to read the comments into the?
No, it's fine. Yeah, we
You
can move
could
along.
read them in if you're going to have it as part of the record, which will count.
Yeah, let me go ahead and read it. So the comment says on consent agenda number 9, no images of mold were included. Please advise client to review attic insulation venting as part of the roof replacement scope. Comment on consent agenda number 13 and 14, proposed CT20 certified shingles seem to be discontinued. Please advise owners to confirm specs on the roof shingle selection. Certainty does not seem to warranty old discontinued products. Please confirm that general contractor is not installing discontinued product. And so staff will follow up regarding those.
And I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, John.
Second.
I heard Ted first, but I know multiple people heard the second. So now we can go with a roll call vote.
Okay, that's me. Sorry. The order of the list I have here. So Chris Hart,
Yes.
Chris Weston. All right. Dan.
Yes.
All right. Ed.
Yes.
All right. John.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Lily.
Yes.
Raquel.
Yes.
Ted.
Yes.
Wendy.
Yes.
And Phoebe.
Yes. Okay, so the consent agenda items have passed. And so now we are moving on to our public hearing for our 2 preliminary landmarks listing properties. And so staff could next move on to agenda item number 4, the independent order of Oddfellows Upper Fells number 175 and setting.
Give me 1 second. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Hold on. So many things opened up on my screen now. Okay, there we go. All right, welcome and thank you for attending this evening's Preservation Commission meeting. We'll be having 2 public hearings for inclusion on the Baltimore County preliminary landmarks list. First, we'll have the Upper Falls Oddfellows Hall, and then we will have Eden Dairy, the McCullough Johnson Farm. And just some background for those who are in attendance that are not familiar with our landmark process or nomination process. This process is conducted for all landmark nominations. When a nomination is submitted, staff determines if there's enough information to review the nomination. If we are determined that a nomination is complete, staff will then conduct additional research beyond the information presented in the nomination in order to determine the significance and historical integrity of the nominated property and review the justifications which are presented in the nomination to determine if the property meets the criteria for which it was nominated for. For evaluating and applying the landmark criteria that you see on the screen, staff and the commission utilize the Secretary of Interior's publication on how to apply the National Register criteria for evaluation. And this is outlined in the LPC's historic guidelines and regulations, which are available on the LPC's website. So up the Upper Falls Oddfellows Hall number 175 and setting. This is a 2-story wood frame building constructed circa 1860s. It's distinguished by a 3-story projecting entrance tower, a 5-gable roof, and a random rubble stone foundation. The structure first appears as a school on the 1877 Hopkins Atlas and likely dates the period between the property's acquisition by the Board of County School Commissioners in 1859 and the Atlas publication. in 1877. So after serving as the community's principal schoolhouse throughout the late 19th century, the building then transitioned to social and civic use under the Upper Falls Casino Company in 1896, which hosted events, meetings, and public gatherings. By the early 20th century, the local independent order of the Oddfellows Lodge, chartered in 1925, occupied space in the building and eventually acquiring the property in 1945. The structure remains as an active Oddfellows Hall and is a representative example of the 19th century rural schoolhouse adapted for fraternal and community functions, illustrating the evolution of Upper Falls as the local and social civic center. The nomination was submitted by the current Grand Noble, Mr. Michael Milan, with the assistance and support of Councilman Marx's office. The nomination was submitted under Criterion 1 for the property's association with the Oddfellows fraternal organization that was part of the early 20th century social and civic fabric of a small rural community. The Upper Falls Oddfellows Hall stands at the northeast corner of Bradshaw and Raphael Road in Upper Falls. The two-story wood frame building occupies a level lot and faces northwest towards Bradshaw Road. The entire property consists of two parcels that are just over 3/4 of an acre. The structure is surrounded on all sides by gravel, and there are two auxiliary buildings on the property, a modern shed and a circa 1960 concrete block privy that are located along the rear property line. The community of Upper Falls began to develop in the mid-19th century around the intersection of Bradshaw and Raphael Road, as depicted on the 1850 Sydney Atlas. The land was originally a part of the 18th century county subdivision, the Gunpowder Upper Hundreds. Between 1850 and 1877, the crossroads grew into a small rural village with the construction of a Methodist Episcopal church, a general store, and a school. By 1881, Upper Falls had reached an estimated population of 100 residents and contained a rectory, school, general store, undertaker, two churches, and numerous dwellings that concentrated around Bradshaw and Franklinville Road. It continued growth into the early 20th century, increased the community's density, and expanded its boundaries. And by 1915, Upper Falls was considered a thriving rural center in eastern Baltimore County. The parcel on which the present building stands was originally owned by William McCubbin, who conveyed the land to the Board of County School Commissioners in 1859. The 1877 Hopkins Atlas depicts a school on this site, indicating that the current structure was likely built between 1859 and 1877, while earlier documentation suggested an 1896 construction date. The building's rectangular form and central projecting tower are characteristic of a late 19th century schoolhouse, which supports the identification of the current structure as the school shown on the 1877 Atlas. So it's safe to say that the original portion of structure was most likely constructed around 1860. In 1891, the Board of County and School Commissioners sold the former school property to the Upper Falls Permanent Building Association at a public auction for only $70. The Upper Falls Permanent Building Association was a mutual savings and loan organization that was incorporated in 1890 to support local building and home owning efforts. As seen on the 1898 Atlas, the property is no longer identified as a school, and the new school building is now located about a half mile up north on Franklinville Road. So in 1896, the Upper Falls Casino Company purchased the property. That organization was established in the same year, and the organization is stated to be for educational, literary, dramatic, musical, and social purposes. It is under the casino company's ownership that the original building was expanded with an addition that added stage and dressing rooms. Previous documentation notes that the rear L addition was constructed around circa 1910. With this article, it's most likely that was constructed a little bit earlier, maybe around 1900. The casino's educational, literary, dramatic, musical, and social purposes consisted of town meetings, political meetings, church fairs, plays, fundraising events, dances, and motion picture shows. In 1909, the casino company conveyed the property back to the Upper Falls Permanent Building Association, which retained ownership until the 1940s. However, the Upper Falls Casino still occupied the stage, and the building continued to serve the community in the same capacity for social and educational functions. During the early 20th century, the building became associated with the Independent Order of Oddfellows, an international fraternal organization with origins in England. The earliest reference to an Oddfellows Lodge dates to 1748, though its roots may extend to the 18th century Ancient Order of Bucks, whose emblem featured 3 intertwined bucks. The Independent Order of the Oddfellows took formal shape in the United States in 1819 with the founding of the Washington Lodge No. 1 in Baltimore. English immigrant Thomas Wildey, a former member of the London Lodge, organized the Washington Lodge with 4 other fellow Englishmen. Wildey spent the following decades establishing lodges throughout the country, and by his death in 1861, the order had expanded to more than 200,000 members in 42 states. The Oddfellows mission centered on mutual aid and summarized in its long-standing aim to visit the sick, relieve the distressed, bury the dead, and educate the orphan. To support that work, local lodges provided direct assistance to families, including groceries, fuel, and nursing care. The organization's emblem, which consists of 3 interlocked chains bearing the letters F, L, and T, represented the core values of friendship, love, and truth. Many members also participated for social opportunities offered through meetings, dinners, and dances. Although the organization remains active, many smaller local lodges have declined during the 20th century. Currently, Baltimore County has at least 15 documented and active lodges today. The Upper Falls Oddfellows Lodge was chartered on April 3rd, 1925, and early lodge members began using meeting room space in the building around 1930. In 1945, the Upper Falls Permanent Building Association sold the property to the Upper Falls Oddfellows, solidifying the structure's long-standing role as the center of community and fraternal life in Upper Falls. Thus, the period of significance for the building dates to when the Oddfellows became associated with the structure until their purchase of the structure in 1945. So the period of significance for this property with the association with Oddfellows is from 1930 to 1945. The property retains its integrity of setting and location. The property remains on its original site, and the overall property boundaries have changed little over time due to the minimal development in the surrounding area. This has allowed the Crossroads community of Upper Falls to maintain its historic and rural character, much as the same as it was back in 1930. With regard to materials, the structure has experienced alterations. Original roofing, siding, windows, and exterior doors have been replaced, and several window openings, particularly on the facade, have been enclosed. But despite these changes, the fieldstone foundation remains visible, and the property still maintains its original form. Additionally, the current asbestos siding dates to probably the 1920s or 30s, placing it within the period of significance of the building's association with the Oddfellows. Integrity of workmanship is still evident in detailing of the projecting tower's roof, which continues to convey aspects of the building's historic construction methods. The building's design has evolved since its construction in 1860 under there's the addition, or two rear additions that were made in the early 20th century. The one that probably was done around 1900, and then the last addition was around 1930. And although the enclosure of several facade window openings disrupts the historic rhythm and diminishes some of the design and material integrity, the building's overall form and massing, front entry portico, projecting tower, roof shape have remained intact. And these elements have been preserved since the Oddfellows became associated with the property in the 1930s. The building retains its integrity of feeling and association as it remains recognizable as an older institutional building, and the continued use of the traditional Oddfellows signage and symbols further support integrity of association with the Oddfellows. So again, the nomination was submitted for and evaluated under criterion 1 for its association with the Independent Order of the Oddfellows and the development of fraternal, civic, and mutual aid organizations of rural Baltimore County during the early 20th century. And the dates of 1930 to 1945 have been identified as its period of significance. Although the building was originally constructed as a school, its most significant and enduring historic role relates to its function as a meeting place under the Upper Falls Lodge number 175, which was part of one of the nation's oldest and most influential fraternal organizations. The Oddfellows first occupied the building in the early 1930s using a meeting room while the property was still owned by the Upper Falls Permanent Building Association. And the property was acquired outright in 1945. Again, solidifying the building's role as a primary fraternal and community hub for the surrounding area. And throughout this period, the lodge has hosted meetings, charitable events, social gatherings, and community events, reinforcing the building's longstanding civic function. The building does retain important physical characteristics that support its significance under criterion 1, although originally designed as a schoolhouse. And later use by the Oddfellows is reflected in its sustained occupancy, a spatial arrangement consistent with fraternal organizational practice. The building's continued presence and recognizable form help convey its role as a locus of the community identity and social interaction during the lodge's period of significance. Because of the direct and meaningful association with the history of mutual aid and fraternal life in Maryland, and with the Independent Order of Oddfellows specifically, the property meets criterion 1 for its contribution to the broad pattern of local and regional social history. So Upper Falls Oddfellows Hall is recommended eligible for the preliminary landmarks list under criterion 1 for its association with the Independent Order of the Oddfellows. Additionally, it is recommended that the commission delineate the 2 parcels associated with the building as its historic environmental setting. All right. So, all right, for testimony, we did not have any registered speakers. We do have a representative from Councilman Marks' office here, which I will unmute her. We did have one letter of written testimony that was submitted by the Preservation of Alliance of Baltimore County, which was circulated to commission members earlier today in support of the nomination. So give me a second. All right,
Yeah, we
Allison,
have Allison unmuted.
Yes, hi. I am Allison Lex, and I work in the office of Councilman David Marks. Am I good to go?
Oh, and hold on, we have Michael Milan is online as well. Mr. Milan, you are unmuted, so I didn't see you on the list. Michael Milan is the current Grand Noble at the Lodge and also is the one that submitted the nomination.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if I was trying to unmute myself or if it was regulated. So sorry. Thank you. I was searching all over the screen trying to figure out how to do it.
Okay, so go ahead, Michael.
First of all, thank you. My name is Michael Mylan. I'm the current Noble Grand of the Upper Falls Lodge 175. One minor correction to what was presented. Our membership has voted, and we would only seek historic protection of the building structure itself, not the adjacent properties. And that's really all I have to add.
Could you clarify any reasoning behind the order's preference that only the building receive landmark status and not also the environmental setting?
I don't know if we had good information as to why we should seek that as well. But the building being of significance to not only the organization of the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, but also to the community of Upper Falls.
Okay, thank
So
you.
setting
Yes.
size at one parcel, not the second parcel at the commission.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit there, Caitlin. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you were clarifying that the commission would have the discretion to only designate the one parcel where the building sits as the historical setting and not the second property that does not have the main building. I think there's maybe one outbuilding accessory structure that's on the second parcel. So that would be, potentially for our discretion in any any motion that we would make. Did you also want to speak to, it sounds like the nominator, the Oddfellows were, unsure what the advantage of having the historical setting for either parcels would entail. That might be helpful to clarify for them what that actually involves.
So as a whole, both parcels are included in the setting. So the commission would have purview over any new construction to make sure that it is in keeping with the historic nature of the property, making sure that it's sensitive in design and compatible with the Oddfellows Hall. And provides a buffer with neighboring properties as well.
Well, if we only do the setting on the small parcel that includes just the building, and all the rest of it is, if we didn't do the rest of it, then we wouldn't have any purview over anything that happens on the other parcel that they own.
Correct.
Okay. Well, so that can be something that the commissioners discuss once we get to our discussion period. Before we discuss that, I would like to have our other speakers have an opportunity to speak. So Michael Milan, did you have any additional comments or questions or, in light of our discussion about the environmental setting or anything else you'd like to add?
Not really.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Then I'm hearing no other additional comments from you. Then we can move on to Councilman Marks' representative.
Hi. Yes. As I said, my name is Allison Lex. I am a legislative aide to Councilman David Marks, District 5. And first, I really want to thank the Landmarks Preservation Commission, especially Ms. Merritt, for working with our office and the Upper Falls Oddfellows Lodge on the application. You guys are awesome. As Ms. Merritt shared, the property has really been an invaluable resource to the community throughout its history, not just for the community social events, the volunteer efforts, everything in between. I've actually hosted an event at this location personally, so I love it there. And then, of course, having the International Order of Oddfellows being founded in the U.S. here in Maryland, this lodge is part of that longstanding historical legacy here in Baltimore County. Preserving it will allow this property to continue serving Upper Falls, Kingsville, and the greater Baltimore County area, while ensuring that part of our county's history can continue to be celebrated. And Councilman Marks is fully in support of the protection of this property, and he looks forward to it being considered by the council as soon as possible. So that is my statement of support
Thank
from
you.
the councilman's office.
Yes, thank you. Do any of the
Thank you.
commissioners have any questions for Councilman Marks' representative?
I do. Just a quick one. From your point of view, would the office of David Marks be interested in both parcels or just the one parcel compared to the information from Michael Milan?
Yeah, I understand, and my understanding, of course, is much more limited than that of the commission here as to the ins and outs of preserving both parcels. It's my understanding that we are in support of it being the parcel that was voted on by the membership of the Oddfellows Lodge. So just the one parcel with the building, in order to grant that preservation status.
Okay, and the only other clarifying question, it might also be for Caitlin and them, as far as what sort of zoning this has, because the environment, I think the main concern would be if this is, the building itself, can Royal Farms be put up right next to it? Because the way I look at it, I'm in this area all the time.
Yeah.
You have the Salem Cemetery that's right there. You have the Kingsville Park that's right down the road. You're at a intersection, basically.
Right.
So, just on that end, as far as how we go, as far as the commission votes, as far as one parcel, two parcels, what sort of protections are in place where this beautiful building won't have a large obstruction put right next to it?
Absolutely. I can't speak to the zoning. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Caitlin, I interrupted you.
Off the top of my head, I know there's RCC across the street. I know there's a lot of residential conservation areas. I am not sure of this particular parcel. Again, we have CZMP too, so if there was ever an issue, like if they needed to sell that lot, somebody bought it and it went through. But again, I would make a comment that it was right next to a county landmark. But I don't know the zoning. I don't think it's anything that would allow for use of a gas station, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, with the Oddfellows, I like
Yeah.
staying on the property owners aspect of it. Yet I also want to, fall on that side of preservation. I want to respect their opinions and kind of find that middle ground with that. So that's the clarification I was just looking for.
The only thing that I can think of, I'm sorry, is and I'm not sure exactly where the urban rural demarcation line is, the URDL. But I do know, I think this may be north of that demarcation line. And if that's the case, then I know there are more stringent zoning regulations and development application processes that may assist in protecting this property alongside the fact that it would be next to a historically significant building. I know our office is definitely in favor of preservation, and if that would be something that our office would need to look into further in order to help the commission make its decision, I'm happy to work on that with you.
Does the
Thank you.
Oddfellows, do they own this whole property that we're talking about?
They own
both parcels?
both parcels owned. And I just looked up the zoning, so they're both RC5 and RC7, so that does not allow for, say, like a gas station, mostly residential, antique shop through special exceptions.
At the moment, zoning is changed every 4 years, so don't fall in love with it because it'll change. What I'm asking, do the Oddfellows own the whole parcel that we're talking about, the two parcels, the one they want and the one they do not want included? Do they own both of them?
Both of those parcels.
Yes,
Okay,
Wendy, they own both of them.
Okay, I'm just wondering why they wouldn't want it fully protected if they own the land. My sinister mind goes many places.
Yeah, and just to clarify, in terms of if an environmental setting is delineated, that means that changes, modifications on the property. If an addition, if the property owner, if it were designated a final landmark, wish to, add additional structures to that building, then it would be subject to Landmarks Preservation Commission review. That's
Yeah,
not to
and
say that
it-
nothing can happen. It's just that we would, say if they wanted to put a gazebo or some,
Right.
that we would just review the gazebo to make sure that it was in keeping with the Odd Fellows, the reason that it was designated a landmark in the first place.
Well, that's why I'm very curious to know why, when they own that land, why they wouldn't want all of it under the, purview of review by the landmarks if they want to build anything.
Excuse me, Phoebe, we have Gerald Smith raise his hand. Maybe Mr. Smith can give some insight.
Is Mr. Smith a representative of the Odd Fellows? Just clarifying, are we ready to go on to
I
additional
don't
speakers?
know, but Mr. Smith's put his hand up in the
Okay.
chat.
He
Yeah,
is not
thank you.
he is not a member or representative.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that we're done with our questions for the representatives, property owners and Councilman Mark's office. Are there any other questions from the commissioners for either of them?
I have a question. This
Okay,
is
thank you,
Lily.
Lily. Go ahead.
So is the environmental setting, is that suggested by the staff?
Yes, that was the staff recommendation to include both parcels as part of the environmental setting to be protected.
And if, okay, and is there, it looks like if the one property is just that red line, so it's pretty close to the, where the structure is, right? There's no
Yes.
easement in between the two or anything like that that would provide some buffer, right? So we're either choosing to half or full.
Yeah, correct. That it's the parcel, which includes the building. The parcel line is very close to the building, so that if we did not include the other half of the parcel that does not have the main building on it, then it's less of a buffer. There you go. Thank you for that illustration and highlighting in greater red from staff on the image. And I just want to note that for Gerald Smith, he says in the chat that he lives across the street. So Mr. Smith, we'll get to you when we get to the additional speakers. So we haven't forgotten about you.
Phoebe?
Yes.
I'm a little sensitive to kind of overreach problem with it if we do the entire environmental setting rather than just the building and that smaller parcel. I wonder in my mind if we're not in our wish to protect the building from some poor neighbor, improper neighbor in our view. 7-Eleven was mentioned, I think, that we might be overstepping onto what is essentially a zoning issue, not an historical issue.
Just to clarify, John, that the Oddfellows do own both parcels, so we're not talking about a neighboring property owner in this case.
I understand that, but yes, I didn't mean it, the other half of their parcel, but
yes,
is what I meant.
I think that if we had the purview, we couldn't question use, but we could question how it was, if it was jammed against the building, so it would gave them no breathing room for the historic building. If it were, designed in a way that was a detriment to the existing building, that's the sort of thing we would have purview. I don't think we would be able to say anything about if it's allowed by zoning, it's allowed by zoning. We don't have a say on that.
Yeah, it seems to boil down to a question of how big of a buffer in the environmental setting we as a commission would recommend. Are we satisfied with just the smaller portion of a parcel that only includes, you know, the building where the part circled in red, or do we think the environmental setting needs to be the entire property to provide that buffer? So that's what boils down to, and some commissioners may feel one way versus the other, and we will see where we fall on the vote. There any other questions? I don't want to kind of beat this issue to death, but are there other questions related to for the property owners or Councilman Marks's office to clarify any other issues related to its eligibility for landmark status? Okay, hearing none, then I think we can move on to the public testimony and additional speakers. So staff, if you could let us know if there were any registered speakers.
We did not have any registered speakers for this nomination, but we do have Mr. Smith who raised his hand. So at your discussion.
Okay, yeah, and I will recognize him and use my chair discretion since he is the neighbor across the street and courteously raised his hand to speak. So if we could promote Mr. Smith as a speaker, and we will give him up to 3 minutes.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to kind of put in my 2 cents, and I am a little bit curious now that I see this. I'm very curious as to why they don't want to add that second parcel. You know, and you can call me skeptical, but I would think that if they don't want to include that parcel, there must be some other thought in mind for it. And they do hold a lot of parties at that Oddfellows Hall. When I say parties, like bingo and I think they've had a wedding reception there and that sort of thing. And my only fear would be that maybe they are thinking long term about continuing catering type of things, which that parcel right next to it would be ideal. So that's I would. When you're approving this, I would look into that and find out why they do not want to include that parcel. And that's all I have to say.
Did you have any comments related to, as a neighbor, what, the view of the setting or the historic setting, environmental setting? Or just raising questions?
Well, since my wife's going to kill me for this. Since you're asking and you're talking about the view, I live directly across the street from the Oddfellows Hall. When I open up my front door, on the right-hand side, I see the Oddfellows Hall, and right directly in front of me, they do have, you mentioned they have sheds. The privy is a little bit further back. I can't really see that, and you can't really see it much from the road. But the shed they have there that they put in about 20 years ago, and I had actually sent a letter to the Oddfellows Hall requesting that they take it down, but they didn't. It's kind of an eyesore. I never see them use that, and I'm home all the time. I've never seen them use it, and it is in kind of ill repair. It is on that second property, but you asked me about the view. I wasn't going to say anything, but it just doesn't look good. I think that Upper Falls is a nice, very well maintained little area. We all try to do our part in keeping the yards pretty and so on and so forth. And that shed just looks out of place. And like I say, it's in kind of ill repair. But I may be talking out of school out here for this meeting. So, but you asked about the views, so that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
1 minute warning.
Okay, and so the shed, we're just, is that the 1930 shed addition that's on the back of the property, or the modern shed that's on the other side on the second part of the parcel? It sounds like that's what you're talking about. The modern
Yes.
shed, yeah. So it's not circled in red, but it's on the other side. Okay, thank you. Just for the commissioners' purposes, I'm not sure, Jessica or Caitlin, if you can circle the modern shed. It was on the map that was sent to us in terms of labeling. So
Just as a point of order, the shed is not included as part of the historic certification or contributing part of this land.
correct.
It's not going to be, so I don't know why we even worry about it. We're
Well,
not there on the beautification for the neighbors.
Right.
We're looking at what's landmarked. And
But it is
that's our
part of
job.
that historic setting. It is part of the larger historic
Yeah, so-
boundary, though, if we consider it.
If we consider it as part of those both parcels.
Right.
And any proposed future changes to that structure would ultimately come under our review if the commission chooses to include the second parcel where the shed is situated.
So,
I'll take a swing at making a motion for this. I move, is that appropriate or not appropriate?
Yeah, just want to clarify that we don't have any additional speakers.
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Then go ahead, John, with your first crack at a motion, and we'll see if it sticks.
Yeah, so my motion is, I move that we approve the recommendation for historic preservation of the Oddfellows Hall with a 50-foot buffer on all on the sides that we can go 50 feet. So that may only be the side that's kind of in question. And that's my motion.
So just to clarify or restate your motion, so you would be voting to place the Independent Order of Oddfellows, Upper Falls number 175, and environmental setting with defined as is it defined as the portion that the parcel that the building's on, and in addition a 50 feet buffer from the portion line, or a 50 feet buffer from the building?
So more formally, the buffer would be the property lines or at least 50 feet from the building, whichever is larger.
Have we ever done that before? I'm not aware that we've ever, is that okay to do? I don't know, just a question.
I don't know either.
Is that how, could that be a historic easement? Are we talking about a historic easement on the backside with the neighboring property? Is that what we're trying to do?
I'm trying to compromise between the idea of making the whole thing an historic setting with the idea that maybe we don't really need to make a parking lot part of the historic setting. That's essentially what that open area functions as.
Well, yeah, I think part of the problem comes in because we don't know what could go there. I think that's where the neighbor comes in for his testimony.
So my thought is, if we get a buffer of 50 feet from the building into that, whatever else comes in, that's a pretty substantial buffer.
Okay, so John, just to clarify, your proposal in terms of the environmental setting that is included in the landmark would be the entirety of the first parcel that the building's setting with a 50-foot buffer from the building within the property that's owned by the Oddfellows. So we're not talking about anything outside what the Oddfellows own in the back or anything like that. We're just talking about their one parcel plus 50 feet from the building, depending on, I don't know what the measurement is from the building to the parcel division line, where 50 feet comes in. That, is kind of hard to tell at this point since we're kind of, that's we're not going a parcel line and don't have the map in front of us to look at it.
I would say, can I recommend that you do the building and the parcel, the setting that the parcel's on, the parcel that it's on, plus 50 feet into the other parcel would be the setting.
I accept that amendment. for clarity purposes, it's perfect.
Just keeps it clean. We know what
Yep.
it is.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay, yeah, that I agree, Ed, that is cleaner. So, can we go back to the picture, staff, just so that we can, before we ask for a second, make sure that we know what it is we're nominating, where, the motion is to nominate to place the Independent Order of Odd Fellows building and environmental setting consisting of the entire first parcel plus an additional 50 feet from the building, 50 feet from the parcel line into the second parcel. So,
50 feet will take you to probably about right here. Hold on. Get my.
Give us a little line that would help us with some. Oh, we lost the picture.
I clicked. Just select the thing. It's about here from this building line.
Okay.
Here's
So that might
'cause
include the shed. That shed looks like at least part of the shed would be included in that, but not the grassy area on the other side.
Yeah, because
whatever 50 feet is, but that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah, my end is I'm just not, with it versus we voted on two separate parcels as far as splitting it up. I have a feeling it's just more of is a big old gazebo going to go in there? Is a 10-car garage going to go in there? I have a feeling that's kind of where this 50-foot buffer, is it far enough where a big old gazebo is not going to just be tossed there without us being able to review it? A humongous object there that blocks the view from the road, that blocks the view from the neighbor. So, I mean, I'm yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of split.
Yeah. Thank you. Do we have? Well, we can have some additional discussion. But is there a second for the motion? Is everyone clear on what the motion is?
I'll second.
Okay, so I think that was Ed who was seconding. Okay, so
can I ask a question though?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, go ahead, Lou. So we've got a motion, we've got a second, and now we're discussing before we all make the decision to call the motion and we'll vote. But let's have some discussion about
Okay, so my question is this. So if this is being read as two lots owned by a single owner, if they were to sell to subdivide and sell this other lot, how do the fact that these historic environmental setting extends from one to the other would become an issue. So I think when Ed mentioned it before, he talked about the property line and then 50 feet from it. So that's why I said at the beginning, having a historic environmental easement between the two, then, it makes it more so that, if it was developed, if it was separated, then you do in fact protect that buffer zone. It's not, there's no confusion. I think the problem would be, it would be confusing if it's extending between one and the other, and it just doesn't show up in some of the site plans when somebody goes in and builds something, because it's not a clear easement demarcation. So that's my concern, is that how do we make sure that that's, in fact in place and it's understood.
I agree. I think it's a little messy.
That's why I suggest, for the two separate properties, like, can we vote on the two separate? Because I'm 100% I'm 100% for preserving this property from the start to the finish. Quite honestly, for me, even both of the easement, everything.
The whole property.
Yeah, the whole property on myself. But it might make it easier if we vote on it for two separate ones if there's disagreement, so the whole thing doesn't get shot. Yeah,
I don't think we
sure.
can do that though, because
Yeah.
just in terms of what our criteria is to place this property on the landmarks listing, it is criteria 1 for its association with the Independent Order of Odd Fellows and the role of fraternal organizations in shaping civic and social life in rural Baltimore County, and that activity is happening in the Odd Fellows building. And we can't, we're voting on one property, and it's a question of defining how large is the portion of the property that we are protecting. Is it just one parcel, or is it both parcels, or do we want to come with this compromise where we draw a line that sneaks into the second parcel, which might be a little messy?
We would.
And for the record, I'm 100% on board for this and everything else. I actually have knowledge of the Odd Fellows, the Jefferson Hall over in Pikesville, and all this different stuff and what they were the purpose for. 100% criterion one, this thing is met. But yeah, I do understand kind of this thing we're in right now. It's just thinking about it to make the right choice, because it is a long-term thing. And I highly suggest when we do vote on this, whatever the next steps, because we are in a voting year, so it doesn't go wayside like a Choate House or anything else, that hopefully this process moves along. I just want to make sure it's done properly, the building's preserved, and anything that needs to be. So that's just my thing.
Yeah, would you favor the entire property or the?
I mean, personally, in my district, I mean, I would favor the whole property, only for the aspect of having purview over if they decide to put, say, a 10-car garage there versus a wedding gazebo. Or anything keeping with the Oddfellows if they need storage. I don't care if they need storage. The Oddfellows were a function before certain insurances happened. You read stories about them. Somebody's barn burned down, and then the Oddfellows would go in and fix the barn the very next day of somebody in the community as a organization. So I mean, it would depend on the purpose, and we give up that purpose of deciding that, where if they decide to build a profiteering type thing or move away from those values that were instilled in there, I just want to make sure, while also respecting the property owners, it deserves to be protected 100% no matter what. And I think we should all consider it to be protected. It's just that how much protection where we can kind of meet in the middle and make everybody happy.
We're protecting the building, not the use. It can be, they can use it for any other thing they want.
Yeah.
That's fine. We have to look at, we're protecting the building. They're using
And
part of
not-
that other site. So, I mean, that is parking for the building. So maybe we should be looking at the whole, both parcels. I mean, I'm rethinking my suggestion earlier.
If you want to remove your second, Ed, then we've got, and nobody else seconds it, then we can, start over on a new motion.
Ed, would you do that?
I would ask Ed,
Could I give a historic?
If he would consider doing both parts.
One sec, we got two people.
Yeah, Phoebe, I think the proper thing is that I would just withdraw my motion.
That can happen too.
And let's do it that way. I would withdraw my motion before Ed stabs me in the back. And
Okay, then I think Wendy wanted to speak. So thank you for withdrawing your motion. Wendy, go ahead.
For about 10
minutes.
Wait a minute, Wendy, we didn't get to, can you start over?
I said I've been raising my hand for quite a while. Okay. We had, at one time on the commission, we did not vote on any kind of environmental setting. The reason that was put in is because we had examples of historic houses, beautiful houses, and they had no setting. So you had then other, lesser houses built right up to the front porch. So that is why we instituted a setting to give, so you don't have something built right up next to the building. So these people are very lucky in to have that much land. And I think it should all be the setting so that we have some purview over what is built. You can build on that other parcel, but it just would come under our review so that it isn't something totally out of, the historic setting of the Oddfellows Hall.
Thank you, Wendy. Would you like to make that into a motion?
Well,
maybe you could read the recommendation.
If you do, Wendy, I'll second you.
Oh, I know,
Or
Dan.
Daniel, if you'd
figured
rather
you
make
would.
the motion and
Yeah.
Wendy can second. There you go.
Yeah, I'm fine making the motion. I vote for under criterion one. This meets the historical aspects for it for both the property, and we can review it if they decide to do anything outside of that later on.
So, just to restate, are you following the staff recommendation to vote to place the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, Upper Falls 175, and setting on the entire setting of the property on the preliminary agenda under criteria 1?
Yes, it's a beautiful property and should be preserved.
Okay, and that
Second.
follows the motion that is recommendation that is on the screen. So that is our clean motion.
And I will
And
second
it's
it.
been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would then ask to have a roll call vote.
All right, hopefully everyone can see and hear me.
Yes.
Could we have Ted, please?
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chris Weston,
Yes.
Raquel,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and our Madam President, Phoebe.
Yes. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
And just to note that both Chris Parts and Tom Liebel left early on in the discussion around
Yes, they
6:30,
headed out
6:39.
at, yes,
But we still
correct.
have a quorum, so we're good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes the preliminary hearing for agenda item 4. So now we can move on to agenda item 5, the Eden Dairy property. So,
All right, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, just checking before I started. All right. All right. All right, so moving on to our next nomination, we have Eden Dairy, the McCullough Johnson Farm, which includes the house, barn, corn crib, spring house, privy, machine shed, frame, auxiliary structure, and its setting as well. So Eden Dairy is a significant is significant as a representative example of a mid-19th century agricultural property in northern Baltimore County and for its association with the rural development of the Parkton Rayville community within the 6th district. The farmstead occupies land originally part of the 18th century tract called Hardesty Chan, patented in 1788, and reflects the continuity of agricultural use from the 19th century through the 20th century. The primary dwelling constructed circa 1858 based on architectural evidence and historic mapping, and the barn stone embodies the vernacular building traditions typical of the mid-19th century farmhouses in the region. The house demonstrates characteristics of center cross gable form, patternwood shingle, two wood sashes, and German siding. The associated barn, dated 1858, is a well-preserved example of a timber-framed bank barn with a 4-bay and later modifications for 20th century dairy operations, together with corn crib, machine shed, greenhouse, and other surviving outbuildings. The complex reflects evolving agricultural practices for more than a century. So the nomination for this property was submitted by Trish Spence on behalf of the property owner, Mr. William Johnson, and it was submitted under criterion 1 for agriculture and criterion 2 for architecture. So Eden Dairy property encompasses approximately 5.64 acres and is situated off the east side of Middletown Road in Parkton. The dwelling and its associated collection of 19th and early 20th century outbuildings are located behind two 1970s infill residential lots and are not visible from the public roadway. The property is accessed by a long tree-lined driveway leading to the main house, which faces south and presents a vernacular rural farm consistent with its mid-19th century origins. The main dwelling is a 2.5-story, 5-by-2 base and a cross gable vernacular frame house with 3 additions. It's clad in German siding, and it occupies a little off central position on the parcel set closely to the western property line. And most of the outbuildings are located to the north behind the main dwelling. These include a large bank barn with attached milking parlor, a corn crib, machine shed, outhouse or privy, a frame auxiliary structure, a spring house, and a modern garden shed. and the spring house is positioned southeast of the main dwelling. The eastern portion of the property is wooded, while cleared land and former pasture areas extend behind the house and outbuildings. Fencing is scattered throughout the landscape, particularly around the house and barn complex, reflecting the property's historic agricultural use. Constructed circa 1858 in the rural community of Rayville, Eden Dairy dates to the late 19th century period of settlement and growth in that area. The land that the property, or land that the area encompasses was originally part of the 18th century land tract of Hardesty's Chance. This tract contained 132.5 acres and was patented to Jacob Markey on June 18, 1788. Hardesty's Chance itself was carved out of the Baltimore North 100, one of the earliest divisions of Baltimore County's colonial land system. According to the 1857 County Atlas, there was little settlement occurred in the Rayville area during that time. Establishment of the community did not take place until after 1857, and by 1877, the village included a post office, a schoolhouse, a general store, and church. By 1881, the small village of Rayville, which was located about 22 miles north of Baltimore City, had a population of 25, and the region surrounding Rayville was noted at the end of the 19th century for its orchards and fruit production. By the mid-19th century, the property was in possession of Lysander McCullough, whose name first appears on the 1857 Atlas, placing him on that land at least by that time. And architectural evidence and the date stone on the barn indicate that an 1858 construction date, but it's most likely that the main house would date around that same time. Mr. McCullough was a prominent local figure in Rayville, and census records note that he was an active farmer, and there's various newspaper clippings that also identified him being involved with road and bridge maintenance and repairs in the area. In the 1890s, Lysander McCullough conveyed portions of his land to his children, William McCullough, Vincent McCullough, and Claire Highland. Ownership left the McCullough family in 1920. The property was purchased by the Wileys that operated the farm through the early 1930s, but unfortunately they defaulted on their mortgage in 1934, which led to a public auction. The property at that time only contained about 81 acres, and this was purchased by John and Annie Kalp, marking a new period of ownership during the mid-20th century. The property remained in Kalp ownership until the early 1970s. And the property was sold in 1973. Unfortunately, it was subsequently subdivided into 21 residential lots, assigning the farmhouse and its agricultural complex to lot number 17, consisting of a 5.64 acres. So at this time in 1973 and in the 70s, ownership changed several times in quick succession, once in 1974 and then in 1977. In 1982, the property was conveyed to the current owners, William Johnson and his wife. At the time, the house and outbuildings were showing signs of neglect. The Johnsons spent many years rehabbing the house and making repairs to the barn and outbuildings, preserving its character. The original siding was found underneath the CDX plywood panels that were on the house in the 80s. It was retained and replaced in kind where needed. The original windows were retained and restored. Additionally, eventually they needed to expand the house, and they did add an addition on the west side of the house, but took care to match the massing and details of the main house. The main house is a fine example of a center cross gable vernacular dwelling with a rear L addition. It does retain a high level of material integrity that's exhibited in its German siding, windows, and roofing. Despite having a modern addition added to that west side, the overall form and massing has been retained. And the house still reads as a 19th century farmhouse. The property does include a large frame bank barn bearing the date to 1858 and it's gabled, indicating the mid 19th century construction. The barn has a side gable roof covered with metal roofing, and it's timber framed using hewn structural members. Is banked on the west side and rests on a rubble stone foundation with areas of later concrete blocks support, with the addition of a milking parlor. The west elevation contains a primary entrance, which is consistent with the banked configuration. Evenly spaced, tall, louvered shuttered openings are present on the west and south elevations. These ventilators reflect a late 19th century trend in barn design, which was made possible by the increased availability of milled lumber products. Such ventilators were important for preventing overheating of stored hay and grain and for promoting airflow throughout the interior from ground level to roof. And these are also important additions for sheep and dairy barns. The forebay is enclosed and includes window openings associated with dairy operations. These alterations most likely date to the early to mid 20th century, when changes in agricultural practices led to modernization of existing structures. So the milking parlor construction on the southwest corner reflects another mid 20th century addition. Milking parlors became common during the World War II era as dairy operations shifted toward mechanized systems. The milking parlor addition is typical of such structures, low in profile, modest in size, and constructed of concrete block. And they usually attach to older barns to adapt them to newer farming technology. Additionally, the fencing and pasture land is consistent with dairy farms. On the interior, you can see the hand-seamed framing, Morrison tendon joinery, which was common in the mid 19th century. The property consists of several other outbuildings that served its former ag use. There's a nice frame corn crib, which has a rectangular footprint and appears to be a double corn crib with a central tractor or a machine bay. Then there is a circa early 20th century frame machine shed that is one story with a rectangular footprint and has a board and batten siding and an asymmetrical side gable roof or salt box roof. And the west elevation is a wide open bay. And adjacent to that machine shed is another one-story frame structure with a rectangular footprint. The use of the structure is unknown. It has a gable roof covered in metal, and the structure appears to be on these piers and clad in vertical planks. Additionally, there is a spring house on the property, which is a small masonry structure with a gable roof. There's also a privy on the property as well. So again, the nomination was submitted and evaluated for under Criterion 1 for agriculture and Criterion 2 for architecture. Under Criterion 1, the property is significant for its association with the development of agriculture in northern Baltimore County, and the farmstead reflects the evolution of rural land use from the mid-19th century through the mid-20th century, including grain cultivation, orchard production, and later transition to dairy farming. The complex pertains to multiple contributing agricultural buildings, such as the bank barn, spring house, corn crib, machine shed, that collectively illustrate the change in operations and technologies typical of working farms in the region. The period of significance for this property dates from about 1858 to probably the late 1960s. This spans the property's farming operations until the property eventually ceased farming operations and then was subdivided. And under Criterion 2, eating dairy embodies the distinctive characteristics of a mid-19th century vernacular farmhouse and barn complex. The 1858 dwelling displays characteristic features of a vernacular center cross gable form. It still has its high material integrity through its original windows, wood siding, and roofing materials. While the frame bank barn also represents a well-preserved example of a timber frame barn type common to northern Maryland. The presence of an intact outbuilding combined with the mid-20th century dairy adaptation further enhances the architectural significance of the property by demonstrating both continuity and change in farmstead design. Although the original acreage of the farm has been subdivided, the remaining 5.64 acres parcel maintains the historic spatial relationships among the dwellings, barn, and other outbuildings. The long tree-lined driveway, fencing patterns, open pastures, and wooded edges contribute to the property's rural setting and reinforces its agricultural character. The house, barn, and surviving outbuildings retain integrity of location, design, setting, materials, and workmanship, and feeling and association. So based on its well-preserved architectural character and its long agricultural history and its clear representation of mid-19th to mid-20th century farming practices, Eden Dairy retains a sufficient integrity to convey its significance and therefore is eligible under criterion 1 and 2. And staff recommends that the Commission enter a motion to place the property on the preliminary landmarks list and delineate the entire 5.64 acre parcel as its historic environmental setting. Right, and we have I thought we had
Yeah, Miss
Benz.
Patricia Benz is on. Miss Benz, I've unmuted you.
Oh, okay. Do I start now?
Welcome. Thank you. If you have anything to add or comment in addition to the staff's excellent presentation, you can go ahead and begin.
Yes, thank you very much. And it was an excellent presentation. And I thank the staff for all the work that they've done toward this. So my name is Patricia Bentz, and I am requesting the designation of this property as a Baltimore County landmark. Several months ago, Mr. William Johnson, had contacted Ruth Mascari. Now, Ruth Mascari used to be the former head of the Landmarks Commission for years and years and years. And of course, she's retired now, and she had requested that I help her put together some information to present this to the Landmarks Commission. I am the former executive director of the Preservation Alliance. I was there for 17 years, and Ruth was on the board, and she is a very good friend of mine. So we provided as much information as we could. We went out there several times to talk with Mr. Johnson. His wife had collected a nice folder of information, which started us on providing a very, I guess, a brief skeleton that we presented to Caitlin, and Caitlin then greatly, and the staff greatly expanded upon that. So as she has said, the farmland represents 170 years of agricultural history and retains exceptional and historical integrity. The property is closely associated with Lysander McCullough, a respected Baltimore County resident whose contributions to agriculture, education, and community life have helped shape the Rayville area. Designation of the county landmark will help ensure the long-term preservation of this important historic structure. And again, we support it under the criteria number 1 and number 2, agricultural and architectural, for the reasons that Caitlin detailed. So thank you for your consideration, and I hope that you see this in a favorable light.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Bentz?
I just want to commend the homeowners from that rehab photos to this time. You can tell it's a very loved property. no matter how we vote, they did a wonderful job of taking care of the house, and just want to commend them if that information can get back to them.
Certainly, it definitely will. He wished that he could have been here, but he had a prior commitment and couldn't make it.
Yeah, I second that thought. That's really a wonderful treasure preserved.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. I will relay that.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions before next we can move on? Where are there any additional speakers who are registered?
No, I believe that's all. Thank you, Phoebe.
Okay. Do any other commissioners wish to speak to the property before we entertain a motion? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion, and the recommended motion is helpfully on the screen if anyone would like to go with that.
I'll make a motion to second the recommended motion to add Eden Dairy, McCullough Johnson Farm, House Barn, Corn Crib, Spring House, Machine Shed, Frame, and Auxiliary Building, and the Privy to the preliminary landmark list under criterion 1 and 2. And the setting would be the entire property, 5.64 acres for the environmental setting.
Okay, thank you for basically reading the recommended motion
Yes.
on the screen. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Any other additional comments, questions, discussion before we vote on this? Hearing none, then I would let's have a roll call vote.
Great. Thanks so much, Phoebe. Could we have please?
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Chris Weston,
Yes.
Raquel? Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Phoebe, please.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And so congratulations to the property owner and the nominator for that landmark nomination. I would second the other commissioners' comments that the property owner did an excellent job maintaining this property even without the landmarks designation, and we hope that should this get final landmarks listing, that future property owners will lovingly take care of this property to the equal to the current property owner. So thank you. So now we have concluded our preliminary landmark hearings, and so we will move on to our agenda items. I believe they are number 10 and number 12. So if staff could, we'll let them switch screens to get to the screen for the next agenda item. So number 10 is the green property, and I will turn it over to staff to make the presentation.
Thank you, Phoebe, and thank you, Mr. Green, for your patience. So we have the green property at 607 Sudbrook Road in Pikesville, County Council District 2. The applicants have proposed a prefabricated accessory structure. So the property is a circa 1893 2.5-story asymmetrical frame dwelling with an asphalt gambrel roof situated on a random rubble foundation. A contemporary 40-foot by 60-foot 1.5 carriage house is located on the southwest corner of the property. The carriage house has an asphalt gambrel roof with shed dormers and is clad in woodlap siding. The applicant stated that the carriage house is currently used as a garden shed and for the storage of lawn equipment. No work to the carriage house is proposed at this time. The applicants wish to install a prefabricated structure in the southwest corner of the rear yard, approximately 30 feet east of the carriage house and 15 feet east of the rear property line. The structure will be, it's 20-foot by 30-foot old hickory double wide utility building constructed atop an existing 21 by 32-foot gravel pad. The provided renderings indicate that the structure will have a gable gaff timberline HDZ architectural shingle roof with a pitch of 10 feet. It will be clad in CertainTeed Main Street horizontal vinyl siding and having 9 light fiberglass entry door flanked by 2 3x3 4x4 single hung vinyl windows and an 8x7 overhead garage door on the facade. The application notes that while the structure will have a garage door, it will not primarily be used as a garage for vehicle storage. Instead, the structure will be used as a workshop and for equipment storage. Representative product information provided by the applicant indicate an alternative window style and dimensions than the materials on the previous plans, on the proposed plans. The provided product length for 1/1 JELD WENV 2500 series 35.5-inch by 35.5-inch single hung vinyl windows was provided in your application packets. And additionally, the applicant advised staff that no material decisions have been made and that the proposed materials are representative of what the final product may be. The applicant also shared that the existing water, sewer, and electrical utilities for the proposed structure were installed prior to the applicant's purchase of the property. In April 2026, the applicant installed the 21 by 32-foot gravel pad in preparation for this project. Staff would like to note that large neighboring parcels in Sudbrook Park typically have one large ancillary structure, such as a carriage house or detached garage, and staff could not find an example of a comparative property with both. However, the property is located in the southwest bounds of the historic district, and the carriage house is not highly visible from Sudbrook Road. Although the property is on the edge of the historic district, the carriage house and proposed garage locations are highly visible from the rear yards of neighboring properties at 562, 560, and 558 Sudbrook Lane, which are located outside of the historic district boundaries. An existing tool shed is placed at the rear property line of 560 Sudbrook Lane and may visually overlap with the proposed garage placement at 607 Sudbrook Road. Staff encourages the commission to discuss the proposed project with the applicant. However, due to the size and lack of architectural plans in detail, staff recommends that the LPC deny the proposal and asks that the applicant return with a set of architectural plans and material specifications. Additionally, staff recommends contacting the zoning office to see if a structure of this size that will have water and sewer requires any additional requirements. Citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Chapter 6, New Construction, Additions, and Non-Contributing Structures, County Code Section 32-7.405. And just to add, we did not have any written testimony or registered speakers on behalf of the item, but we do have the property owner, Mr. Yossi Green, here available to answer any questions.
Oh, okay, is Mr. Green promoted to speaker now?
Yeah, Mr. Green, can you hear us? Mr. Green, I have you unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Hello?
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Okay, perfect. Apologies. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at my proposal. I appreciate it, Jessica. I appreciate you being so helpful in the back and forths. My name is Joseph Green. People know me by Yossi. I'm an owner of an electronics recycling company. Reuse and restore is in my blood. I own a business located in Owings Mills. And I'm a resident of Baltimore County and have been for quite some time. When my wife and I were first married approximately 20 years ago, we used to drive through Sudbrook Park and look at all the beautiful buildings, and we would stop and we'd say, look how amazing these things are. Look how amazing these old, graceful, constructions were. One day we're going to own a place like that. And, with the grace of God and the way fate worked out, this is what occurred. But reuse, restoration, keeping to the main theme of what it is that we do is what is most important to us. We've restored the house, the main residence, not from a renovation or construction perspective, but from a bringing it back to period a design. My wife and I spent a lot of time and a lot of money bringing back the Victorian elements to it, and all of you are welcome to look at our house. We're online, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. We've been published in a number of different community magazines and newsletters. It's very important to us, is what I'm saying, that anything that we put into place will be in line with the rest of the building, the rest of the residents, the rest of the property, and it's not something that I have any interest in sidestepping in any way. It's valuable to us. A few things that I would like to point out. The proposed shed. I'm looking at a pre-existing construction. I spoke to zoning before I started this, and I spoke to a number of different manufacturers. I'm very much an amateur at this. I'm a successful business owner. I'm not an architect or a design artist. Like, I don't know these things, but I was informed that architectural plans were not necessary for a prefabricated shed of this size, and that it wasn't something that was going to be looked at. I spoke to the zoning committee board before I put in a gravel pad, and I informed them what I was going to do, and they let me know that it wasn't something that needed a permit or any sort of zoning relevance. It's important to me to do things correct. I'm unfortunately not so experienced at this, and so when in the back and forth with Ms. Papson, she encouraged me to come with some very hard architectural numbers and designs, and it wasn't so relevant to me. I don't really know what that means. I have a very simple proposal. I'm in need of a workshop. My wife is in need of a hobby shop. I'm not looking for a garage. I'm not looking to park a vehicle in it. I have plenty of space and plenty of driveway that I could put my vehicles. That's not what it's about. It's about having a place that I could utilize as a workshop. It's about having a place that blends in with the surroundings. This building, proposed building, although is visible from the rear of the property, from the neighbors that aren't in historic landmark properties. I've spoken to all of them, and they're all very much on board with it and don't feel that there's any problem at all. That property as a whole is one that is very much enjoyed by the entire neighborhood, and I want to continue that. The proposed shed is not visible from the street. It is hundreds of feet from the street, and there is a lot of foliage and a lot of trees, most of them evergreen. Even in the winter, you cannot see it from the street unless you come onto my property. I'm not proposing anything that is invasive or in any way stands out. It will fit in, and it will do a good job at blending in with the general flow and feel of the property. If you were to take a look, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on restoring the landscaping and making sure that it is in line with a beautiful, sedate, peaceful feeling that these properties always bring us. And I would like an opportunity specifically to address what Ms. Papson pointed out, that we don't have finalized product details, or it's different than the proposed. We're talking about a significant investment in this building. I reached out to several different manufacturers, and all of them are of the opinion that I need to get clearance from the Preservation Society before we can confirm on a specific build, before they're willing to give me significant amount of paperwork that would require a down payment or a deposit of some sort. And so at the urging of the commission to settle on final products, is these are the proposed ones that I have. It's a little bit different than the first proposal or the first estimate or write-up that we had, because we hadn't been far enough along. And I intend to stick to the products that I have listed in the email that I had sent back and forth. If something was to change, then I would of course bring it back to the commission again to get approval before we were to change anything. But as of right now, the product links that I have sent and the shed that I would like to put up, and the purpose of it is as stated, and I do not intend to change it. I hear the recommendation of the commission or of the board or of some of the members of the board to deny this outright. And the only thing that I would say is that if that is the judgment of the commission, I will obviously work with it, but I would, request some very clear if-thens. We're going to deny it unless A, B, and C, and then I will obviously work with the commission inside of that. This is something that this project has become near and dear to my heart and to my wife's heart as well, and it's not something that I would appreciate a delay on. And if there is going to be a delay, I would, request that somebody explain to me what the purpose of the delay is and what it is we're trying to achieve. And so then I have a path towards achieving it. And I appreciate the time that you take in looking into it. Like I said, this entire concept of preservation is important to me. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Maryland Recycling Network. This is something that we meet regularly on. This is something that's important to me. And I feel like I may be, consequenced for being a little bit unprofessional in the way that I go about it because of my inexperience. And we may be missing an opportunity to really beautify the property as it is. And with that, I open myself up to any questions that anybody has.
Okay, thank you. Do commissioners have any clarifying questions to clarify the specifications of the particular shed that Mr. Green is wanting to put on the property? I think that seems to be the question at hand, is what exactly are you're proposing, since there seemed to be some conflict within the proposal. Two different designs, two different pictures, specifications that were slightly different. So just clarifying what exactly you're wanting to put in there.
Yeah, I'm happy to. The initial proposal that I'd sent from, I believe, Old Dominion, that we had up on the screen a little while ago, was sent because it was the first manufacturer that I reached out to, and probably the one that I'm going to settle on. Jessica was pretty adamant that you guys were going to want to see what it's supposed to look like. And in addition to that, the actual products that are going to be used for the door, for the outside siding for the roof, and for the windows. And so in an effort to be able to satisfy both of those requirements, both incredibly reasonable, I submitted the original plans from Old Hickory. I submitted the original plans because that is the size, shape, and style of what it is I'm going to be putting in there. And I submitted independently various product links for the actual door, windows, and siding, so that because the manufacturer packet did not include that information, I just included it as a separate thing. And that is the plan for what it is I'm going to be building.
So commissioners ask if it's clear to all of you what exactly is being proposed.
Lily has her hand up.
Okay, Lily, go.
So you mentioned that you have gone to the county and for the slab and this proposal, but I'm unclear because, as I understand, you need a permit for anything above 120 square feet. So this is more than that. And the idea that it has existing electrical, sewer, and water, I'm just not sure I understand what the plan is for this.
Sure.
For this
and
structure.
I appreciate the question. Yeah, and I appreciate the question. I cannot speak to exactly what the because again, I'm not a professional over here. I can't speak to exactly what the zoning rules are. However, I called the county. I spoke to the county permit and zoning, and they informed me that the way that the gravel pad, not the concrete slab, but the gravel pad has been installed or is going to be installed before I did it. And I reached out to them again before this meeting to make sure I was on the same page. Did not require any sort of permit at all. It was just moving some topsoil. It was less than the total amount of tonnage that needed to be moved. And they said there was no reason for anything at all. I invited them to come out to my property, and they said there was no reason for it. Additionally, at the time, I told them that I was going to be installing, with your permission, of course, installing a prefabricated shed of that size. And they told me that although there is going to be a permit that's going to have to be filed, if I was going to hook up the electric and the water and the sewage to that building, that is a separate task than installing it, and there is no permit necessary for installing it on there.
Can I
And I
interrupt?
intend to
Can I-
continue it along those lines.
Can I interrupt? We don't have, you have not presented us enough information to know what you're actually building. I think you need to present us with drawings of the front, the side, the rear, each of the sides. And I think it needs to show the materials, the windows, the doors, some dimensions to show us how tall you're building it. We don't have any of that information. I don't care
I
what.
understand what
I
you're
don't-
saying.
I can, let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
We have a task to do, which is to review things and see if they're compatible with the neighborhood, with the historic character of the neighborhood. We don't have that in front of us, and we can't approve it. And until you want to bring that to us, I don't care what the county building department says, which I don't really believe, but you've got to bring us information so that we can determine if this is compatible with the neighborhood, with the historic character of the neighborhood.
Including a site plan as well.
And what you're
I
doing with the
appreciate it.
site.
Yeah, so a
I don't
site
see
plan-
foundations here, so I don't know even how you could be thinking you're doing this correctly. So it's, you need a professional to help you do this.
Yeah,
You
so-
need
I
an
appreciate
architect or
that.
an engineer or someone who can draw it for you, lay it out in a proper way, give you proper foundations, proper utilities running to it. And you don't have that. I don't really care about that. I don't care if it falls apart. I do care because it will hurt the neighborhood. But I think you need to do this. If you're going to spend this money, you need to do it properly. And we can't do our job if you don't give us proper information. So before
Proper
we go and
information that does
spend more
not
time
conflict.
arguing back and forth, that's what we need. Staff can tell you how to do that, show you examples of other drawings that have come in and what we need to do to approve this. But I would make a motion now to stop this because we just don't have enough to do anything. All of our discussion is meaningless unless we have something to review. So I move that we reject what was presented to us and request that the owner work with staff to provide a set of documents that we can review.
I second that.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ed and Lily, for your motion and your second. So that would be to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or notice to proceed and ask that the property owner come back to us with specific drawings that do not conflict with each other, of what the proposed shed is with a site plan, following recommendations from in consultation with staff to get us a complete application so that we have something to make a decision on. That so far this application is incomplete.
And may I make an amendment to it that we appoint a small committee, 2 or 3 members, to review that submission on behalf of the larger commission, so that if our applicant wants to get working on it quicker, that he doesn't have to wait till the September meeting.
I think I don't feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel comfortable being part of a committee that made the approval. There could be a committee that talks to him about it, but I think staff can tell him what he needs to do, and he needs to come back with real drawings. So it's until he does that, I don't know. What you're proposing is a committee which would approve it? Because I don't.
Yes, maybe I'm misunderstanding the problem, Ed. But what I was hearing was we can't approve something that we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And potentially what it is something that would fairly easily meet our guidelines. And if that was such the case, I'd be happy to delegate that authority to 2 or 3 members to help smooth the path for it.
And John, your concern about having this committee was in part related to the fact that we don't have an August meeting and
That's
just
it.
to
That's
speed
it
things along.
precisely.
Okay,
That's
But we
so,
don't, but it's gonna take him a month to get actual drawings, go back and forth and figure out because he's gonna, what he brings to us is what he's gotta do. It's not, I'm gonna give him some drawings and then I'll do whatever I want. It's, if he shows certain materials, certain heights, certain windows, that's what he needs to bring to us. So he needs to figure out what he wants to do, what he can afford, do some drawings for it and bring it back to us. It's gonna take him a month to get that done. So I
yeah,
don't
so
think timing is
is there
really the
anyone
issue.
else who would second John's amendment to, well, I guess it was Ed's made the motion in the first place. So if
Right.
nobody
So-
else is supporting the idea of a committee, then we can just kind of let that drop and just go with our motion. Lily, did you still have your hand up? No, okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that is seconded not to issue a certificate of appropriateness to proceed, and recommending that it goes back to staff, work with staff to, get the proper documentation, drawings, et cetera, to us at a subsequent meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, then I would, let's have a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Phoebe.
And in this case, if you're saying yes, it means we are not approving the application. Just to make clear, a yes means not to approve the application to proceed.
Correct. Thank you. All right, and I do see Chris Weston has rejoined the meeting. So could we have Ted, please?
Sorry, I had to think about that. Yes.
Thank you, Ted. Lily,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John,
No.
Chris Weston,
Yes.
Raquel,
Yes.
Wendy. You unmuted, Wendy?
It muted itself again. Yes.
Great, thank you. Dan, please.
Yes.
And Phoebe?
Yes.
All right, we have 8 affirmative votes and 1 dissenting, so the motion passes.
So we would just recommend for Mr. Green to, come back with a more complete application that we can review. So the shed idea is not dead. You just need to come back with a better application.
Yes,
I
Mr.
appreciate
Green,
your time.
I'll
Thank you so
be in
much.
touch with you tomorrow morning.
Great. Have a great night all.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving on to agenda item 12, the Schneider property. And we'll let staff get the presentation slideshow back up.
Thank you.
Or maybe it is up and I got an issue with my screen.
Yeah, Caitlin's just rejoining. I think she had a little bit of trouble.
Okay.
She's coming back on.
Yeah, I had so many windows open. I wasn't sure if that was me or if the presentation actually did disappear.
Let's see. Okay, so yes, Caitlin's just messaged me that she lost power and internet, but it's back on and she's working on pulling up the screen.
Okay.
Yep, she's just said she has to rejoin.
Okay. So we're waiting on her. While we're waiting, can we do the reporting on the tax credit applications so we don't
Yeah, absolutely.
get that out of the way?
Just grab my paper. Yeah, there's no slides for that. So the following historic review applications and historic property tax credits were approved by staff as an emergency repair or due to the receipt of Part 2 approval for work reviewed by the Maryland Historical Trust. The first was the Shamali property at 218 West Seminary Avenue in Lutherville. This is a contributing resource within the Lutherville County Historic District, and they received emergency review for an in-kind asphalt roof replacement and skylight windows. And that was County Council District number 3. Then we had the Brennan property at 102 Rosewood Avenue in Catonsville. This is a contributing resource within the Old Catonsville National Register Historic District, and the applicants received Part 2 approval for roofing, skylight gutter, and downspout replacements within County Council District Number 1. Then we had the Lunson Chimino property at 215 Melockton Avenue, another Lutherville property, and they received a Part 2 amendment for a boiler replacement, and that's within County Council District Number 3. And then finally, we had the Soltis Woods property at 3606 Briarstone Road in Reisterstown, and that is a contributing resource within the Fieldstone. And they received emergency review for a furnace repair. So Caitlin has switched me over to the presenter, so I'm gonna pull up her PowerPoint and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it does sound like that list of to be reported was longer than what was included in our packet. So thank you.
Yeah,
for...
yeah, we got, I think there were 3 that came in yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that explanation of why those weren't in our packet. And as soon as you get the PowerPoint back up, then we can proceed with number 12.
I'm back now.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay.
My power did a flicker thing and it came back on, but then I lost internet for like a couple minutes. I still had you guys on my call in, but for some reason it wouldn't let me unmute myself. But all right, thank you guys. It's like it has never ever happened.
I know. It's been what, 5 years, and we've finally had issues.
Yeah, this is a challenging meeting on the technology front. So as soon as you get that PowerPoint up, we'll go with number 12, which is our final item on the agenda, besides just, final comments and announcing the September meeting date.
Thank you all very much for your patience.
Oh, sorry, I gotta share.
Yeah, please share screen.
Thank you.
I can see it.
Okay, there
All
we
right,
go.
perfect.
Go ahead.
Great, thank you. So the Schneider property at 1720 Arlington Avenue in Halethorpe. This is County Council District Number 1. It's a contributing resource within the Relay County Historic District, and the applicants are seeking the installation of roof-mounted solar panels. So the property is a circa 1915 single-story bungalow with an asphalt shingle hipped roof and center dormer. Neighboring properties along Arlington Avenue consist of early 20th century colonial, Foursquare, and vernacular styles. The applicant proposes to install 18 solar panels on the east roof slope and 3 panels on the rear south roof slope. No panels are proposed on the rear addition roof, and staff would like to note that the east and west side elevations are highly visible along Arlington Avenue. Our design guidelines recommend to locate roof-mounted panels on rear or side roof slopes to minimize visibility, or to locate panels on the roofs of accessory structures located in the rear yards. Additionally, staff would like to note that the applicant came before the commission at its January 14th, 2021 meeting with a proposal to install 34 roof-mounted solar panels on the side roof elevations, which were 20 on the left and 14 on the right. The commission voted not to approve the proposal, citing high visibility of the panels and diminishing character of the house and district. The updated proposal does reduce the number of panels and locates them on the left roof slope and on the rear. However, at the left side location, the panels are still highly visible, as the house is only 1 story and there are not any trees or other elements on the property that would minimize views. One consideration would be to set back the panels on the back half of the slide to push them further away from the street. Staff asked the LPC to review the materials and determine if the proposal is consistent with our guidelines, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Chapter 3 Roofs, and Chapter 8 Strategies for Sustainability, MPC Preservation Brief Number 3, County Code Section 32-7-405. We did not receive any formal testimony. However, we did have an email from one of the neighbors who were in support of the project. I believe we have the project representative on with us. Ms. Mira, I have you unmuted. I'm not sure if you're one of the representatives, if you'd like to add anything.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Mira, and I'm representing Spartan Solar, the installers and the homeowner regarding the proposed solar installation at the property. So I am Mr. Schneider's project manager. And before I begin, since I'm very new to this process, I'd like to thank everybody for guiding us, the company, throughout the application and taking the time to review the application and for the opportunity to present our proposal today. And we truly appreciate your time and consideration. So yeah, the proposal is a 21 panel roof mounted solar system installed on two existing roof planes. The design was prepared to balance the homeowner's energy needs while minimizing the impact on the home's exterior appearance. So when our engineers developed the layout, they considered both the existing roof configuration and applicable safety requirements. So the proposed panel locations comply with the required fire setbacks while utilizing the available roof areas to meet the homeowner's energy needs. Yeah, we are not proposing any structural changes to the home. The installation is limited to roof-mounted solar panels and the necessary electrical equipment required for the system, and that equipment on ground will be consolidated near the existing electrical service to minimize visual impact as well. So yeah, with that, I believe we were recommended to push back the panels to the rear roof of the house. And yeah, we're certainly happy to have engineering evaluate that if that is the commission's preference. So
Okay, thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions or discussion items that would involve the applicant's representative? So if none of the other commissioners have questions, I do have one. Was there any consideration of possibly doing ground mounted solar panels, which would be in greater compliance with our design guidelines?
there is consideration, but I would need to consult with our engineering team, and then we would like submit those plans if once that's done and completed.
Okay, so that was not ruled out, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Or does the commissioners want to have any discussion? I think we're all getting tired. So then I would entertain a motion. The recommendation, so we need to decide if we're going to approve as proposed, if we are, or if we're going to follow staff recommendation to deny it and ask that the applicant come back to us with a different design. It probably would be helpful for the applicant if they had some recommendations for us as to what type of placement for solar panels on the property we would be open to.
Well, I would say that I love solar. I think it's a great idea. If you could put some on, move them back on from the street, maybe half of the way back, and then put the remainder on the opposite roof. That might work. They all are going to be visible from the street, so it's just that they would be further back. The ground mounted, I think, depending on where they were and how they were placed and where they were on the site and if they bothered neighbors or were too high, I just don't know how it would look, is certainly a possibility, but I think it needs some modification from what it is now. If we really want to follow our guidelines and say that it should not be visible from the street. So I'd like to hear what other commissioners thought.
So Ed, are you thinking that you inclined to maybe deny the application and request that the property owner come back to us with a different design of either, modifying the placement so that they are on the back half of the side roofs, possibly
Maybe
one side or
both
both
sides,
sides, or ground mounted further back on the property that is not visible? Is that what I'm hearing from you? To deny and have them come back with a different design?
it'd be good to know that they weren't bothering neighbors with what they did with the ground mounted. But I just don't know what it would look like to do the ground mounted, how tall it is, how long it is, how high it is. But I just wouldn't say we'll approve a ground mounted, but I think it's worth.
We'll consider. Yeah.
Yeah, I would, like to know what other the commissioners thought, what their thoughts on this are.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Are there other commissioners who have comments, questions?
Just for memory's sake, was this the one that we reviewed before where they said the shade on the backside posed an issue from the tree?
No, there's not much tree cover. This was last came before us in January 2021, so before you were on the commission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're thinking of different
Good. I'm
properties.
glad that I clarified that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'm
no, we
thinking
get a lot of
yeah.
solar requests, and we did do a training maybe a year or so ago on what the design guidelines were for solar panels on historic properties, and so we do want to make sure that we are taking care to follow those design guidelines with respect to their visibility from the street and impact on the historic property, and when there are accessory structures, that tends to be the preference, or ground mounted rather than like right so visible for the street.
Yeah, I agree with Ed. If he made a motion, I would second it. Where we need more information, we wouldn't be opposed to that, and but it's a good idea if they want to do it. So, yeah.
I think we could say maybe because of what our guidelines say, it needs to be less visible from the street. I would reject this proposal and ask them to come back with other alternatives that would make it less visible from the street, namely pulling it back from the street and shifting those that you pull back to the other side, or looking at ground mounted in a way that would be nice to the neighbors and also show us what it would look like.
Okay, so is that a motion? Is that a
in line
motion,
with
Ed?
Yeah,
so
that's
Ed,
sort of a
okay, so
motion.
Ed's motion is to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or notice to proceed, and ask that the property owner come back to us with a revised application with a revised placement of the solar panels so that they are not as visible from the street, either on the back half of the roof or in the ground mounted. And it sounded like, Dan, you seconded that motion?
Yeah, it matches up with staff recommendations. So yeah,
Yes,
I
it
trust
does.
everybody's judgment.
Okay, great. Is there any other
Can
comments?
I add one more thing?
Yes, go ahead, Lily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're thinking of that landmark, Dan.
Which one?
Go ahead, Lily.
Okay, so I have one thing that I must have missed the solar panel seminar, but one thing I resist is a lot of the jagged and the not a uniform simple layout. So I would really vote, if in fact we do step them back from the street, the nearby property seems to be quite set back. So if there's a way to follow the line of that visibility and move them back, cut out the first 3 or 4 and flip them to the other side. But even when doing that, making sure that, you're talking about just a simple regular grid, because it becomes very distracting when you have them staggered, like what's happening in the back. And I understand that's the back, it's not as worrisome, but you know, with the proposed new layout, and I see that there are some vents and things on that roof. So just making sure you're following just a simple grid layout, you know, just like you have all the rows, and instead of staggering them all over the place, it gets to be very, I think it gets to be very confusing and
I
you know,
agree.
versus just a simple grid. I think that's, you know, if it's stepped back far enough from the street and it's just a grid, you understand what it is and the importance of it, but it doesn't throw off the whole roof.
Yeah, I think Lily, that's a very good suggestion. If it were just a simple block of panels on each side, I think it would be much better. It would be less jarring and less visible, just because it would be unified and seem like just a simple thing on the roof. That's a very good suggestion. I like that.
Okay,
I
so
have a
that would be on advisement and not affect our motion. So, okay, go Raquel with your question.
I have a question for Mira. Do solar panels come in different colors? Like, could the solar panels be more gray to match the roof and thus become less visible?
The panels that was sold to the customer is matte black. So yeah, we don't have any other equipment that's gray. So all our panels are matte black.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they've already been sold to the.
Yes, but not yet installed. So we're in the process of permits and interconnection application. So yeah, we were hoping to get approval from the historic committee before we install the panels first, so that we comply.
Just a note of caution to anyone in the public who is watching this, that it is best to get approval from the Landmarks Commission before purchasing items, just in case what you purchase is not approved to be installed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're actually leased. So
okay,
they're
okay.
being by a financier.
Okay. Okay, so are there any other further comments, questions from the commissioners? If not, we have a motion and it's been seconded to not issue a certificate of appropriateness. Okay, somebody else wanting to say something before I go on? Okay, not hearing any other comments, so there is a motion not to issue a certificate of appropriateness or notice to proceed, and ask that the applicant come back to us with a different design layout of the solar panels. So we can now have a roll call vote, and just as a reminder, saying yes means no, we are not approving the application at this time. So staff, we would, hopefully staff's still here to go through the roll call.
Jessica's muted, but I will do roll call.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin.
Don't know, because her thing on our online thing she went offline. So I don't know if she's having, she just said before she went offline that the storm was hitting where she is now. So.
Okay, well, let's get the vote in before.
Sure. All right, Chris Weston.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Lily.
Yes.
Raquel.
Yes.
Ted.
Yes.
Wendy.
Yes.
And Phoebe.
Yes. Okay, so that, so thank you to the applicant, and we will look forward to a revised application with different placement. So we've already gone through. Yes.
Yeah, and staff will be in touch with you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Sorry. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and we'll make sure to revise the design as recommended. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
so we've already done the tax credit application. So now moving on to other business. The only thing I have noted is that our next meeting is September 10th, 2026. We will not be meeting in August.
Do not
So
meet
we will
in August.
Yeah, we will assume that the September meeting will be a little longer. Hopefully, it will not have as many technical difficulties as we have tonight. And I want to thank everyone for their patience and sticking with us, and for staff for being so adaptable given all the challenges that you had with your storms
Thank
and
you.
electricity getting dropped off.
Well, I do have some good news to share with the commission.
Thank you.
We have we were approved to hire a new historic preservation planner, and that
Wonderful.
posting went live last week. So our small group of 2 will be coming 3 hopefully in the next couple of months. So I wanted to share that, so it'll help relieve some of our workload, and this new staff person will be helping with surveying and research stuff with like landmarks and other properties, and also have a focus on educational and outreach stuff. So maybe we can do some tax credit webinars and that sort of thing in the future. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
That is wonderful news, and I, on behalf of the entire commission, congratulate the staff for getting approval for the new position, and for Baltimore County for providing the funding for that. I think we can all agree that is an excellent move, and we look forward to working with that person once they are hired, and encourage anyone who's interested in historic preservation to consider applying for that and joining this wonderful staff. Any other commissioners have anything they would like to add?
Have a nice vacation.
Yes, thank you. I hope people will have a time in August for rest and relaxation, and we'll come back in the September, the beginning of the fall season, renewed, and hopefully with a less technical difficulties in our meeting. So thank you all for your patience today.
And so
Thank you.
I will try one more time. I move we adjourn. So let's see if
Thank
that
you.
motion
Thank you,
works.
John. I will,
Second.
yep, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.